Welcome back here to the Bernabeu. We are in Madrid, in the Spanish capital. Kate Scott, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, Micah Richards. Here we are, first time at this stadium.
Join us!
Since we've had our Champions League coverage here on CBS. It's fantastic to be here. One of the best stadiums in world football. Wasn't one of the best nights in football for Manchester City tonight. They ended up losing 3-1 on the night to Real Madrid, which made it 6-3 on aggregate. Manchester City now out of the competition, out of the Champions League before even the round of 16. Kind of would have felt unbelievable or impossible to believe as we were coming into this season. Is that right?
Yes, right from the start, yeah, maybe. But then when you saw how the season was going, you could see that every time the level is a bit too high, they can't cope with it, whatever it is, whoever it is. As soon as there is a bit of rhythm, a bit of aggressivity into the game of the opponent, they can't cope with it. And look, I said it so many times, this Man City side has been magnificent for years. So if a team can get a pass in terms of not having a good season, it's Man City. So look, on the other side, you have to give a lot of credit to Real Madrid, because if you remember the game against Liverpool, it looked like they were not a team that were going to go really far and do well maybe. But then, once again with Madrid, if you doubt them, that's a big mistake.
Can I just ask you a question from a coach's point of view? Obviously, you can struggle with confidence, you can struggle with energy. We talked about the midfield, we've talked about the defence. But what is it tactically this team are not doing? Why is it being such a big drop-off from a coach's point of view?
Look, I mentioned it so many times, you know, the boss, Pep, is also dealing with stuff outside of the field that also not easy to deal with when you have to deal with what he's doing, you know, divorce and whatnot. Now going back on the field, you can't come here, and they must have planned for something, right? I mean, you go 1-0 down straight into the game on something that's pretty basic. The centre back has the ball, he's pushing the ball, he's putting his head up, you're still not dropping. And on top of everything, you don't read the flight of the ball, you're trying to head it. It was a bit too easy for Real Madrid and Man City and Mbappe. But if you go back into the tactical aspect of it, I know we've said it so many times. It is a cliche thing, but if the aggressivity, the tempo is not there, tactic won't do anything for you.
Yeah, just looks at the moment, they just sort of run out of ideas. It's almost like Pep's tried everything, hasn't he? Really, you know, you think of John Stones playing in midfield before that. We've seen lots of different things. Nico Gonzalez and Marmoush playing today. Haaland on the bench. It just, you know, everything Pep Guardiola has tried in his career at every different club has almost worked. He's the first guy who comes with Lionel Messi as a false nine. He's the guy who puts his full-backs into midfield. He's always trying something different ahead of the game, and he just hasn't got the answer right now. And that sometimes tells you, you know, sometimes we get fixated maybe with how great managers are. And no matter how great a manager, you need good players. And if you've got a team of players who can't run and can't cope physically with the opposition, it doesn't matter what your tactics are or, you know, how you're going to go about it or what your plan is. He's tried everything, hasn't he? It just won't work.
Yeah, I felt a little bit sorry for Kusanov today. Yeah. Obviously, he's had a difficult start to his Man City career. Obviously, he's a centre-half. He was at right back tonight up against Vinicius, and then Mbappe, then Rodrigo comes, and then Bellingham comes over that side. And it's very difficult to come into this game. You know, I look back to Kyle Walker, and mentioned it off the air, you know, obviously wasn't with his experience, allowing him to go to Milan at this part of the season. Maybe you're looking at that and you've got a 20-year-old playing at right back in one of the biggest games of Man City season. So, I mean, you try to chop it up every single week. You know, we've looked at every single aspect of what Man City are doing. But they just look like they've run out of legs. Looks like they've run out of steam. It looks like they're devoid of ideas and confidence. You know, confidence is a massive thing in football, Kate. Massive thing. You're looking at the players out there. When they went 1 goal down, normally Man City, you're thinking they can get back into the game. They'll find a way to get through the line, to score a goal. But today I was looking at him, it's almost like they was playing within themselves or the game's gone.
So if that's the case, does the season get worse from here then? Because you've just taken a 3-1 drubbing.
You're not going to play Real Madrid every week. You know, they're still in the FA Cup. They're looking to get into Champions League. Hopefully that the 5th position will get you the Champions League this season.
You can rest also now. You can rest and have more time on the field.
Recover,
because you're not in the Champions League anymore.
I guess I just meant in terms of confidence. Ooh, Ooh, what we got coming up on the weekend?
Oh, it's a big one. Liverpool didn't win tonight, so it's a big game for both teams, because Man City will have at the back of their minds that they need to qualify for this competition next season. So it's not a case of okay, the season's over and we'll think about next season. Man City have got a lot riding on it, and Liverpool at this moment is still the best team in the league. They're on the top of the table, so it'll be a great game. Me and Big Mix are there, aren't we?
Yes, we'll be working.
Oh, you're doing it.
Yes,
okay.
Together again.
Double dipping.
No comment.
Okay. In terms of...
I'm going to ask you one thing then.
Yeah, of course.
You're asking Thierry tactically. Do you think they'll make the Champions League positions?
Whoa. Yeah, I think they will. I think with the amount of rest that they've got, I think when I watched them against Newcastle, obviously it's not the same level as... We're talking about one of the greatest teams, with the front four that Real Madrid have. I think they will make the Champions League. I think it'll be difficult, but I think they still have enough to make the Champions League, yeah.
Do you, Jamie?
I think just. I think there's a lot of teams around them now who are sort of just getting into bad form. Aston Villa obviously played Liverpool tonight. It's probably a good result for them in some ways, but they've got 2 points from 2 home games. You've got Newcastle as well. I think they've lost 3 of the last 4 in the Premier League. Chelsea are really struggling, so anyone down there puts a little bit of a run together. And in the Premier League, actually, Man City have put a little bit of a run together of late, but there's still a long way to go.
So how hard is
Manchester City? They are out of the competition, but we're going to be joined by someone who's very much in it. And
hey,
here he
Jude.
is. Hey, Jude.
Good to see you, mate. I'm good. How you doing, bro? You alright? How are you? Well, good. Yeah, good, man.
Hey, Jude. Lovely to see you.
How are you? All good?
Yeah, we're all good.
there,
How
man.
are you? Talk us through that. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a good performance from us. Good evening. It was really enjoyable to play, and I think the most important thing was the defensive side. I think when we know we box that off, we can attack with a lot more freedom, and that was the key tonight, I think. And I think in the other game as well.
Was Rudiger coming back key to that?
Yeah, very important. Obviously, they've had some injuries, and then we're kind of on the back end of that, getting a few lads back. And it's really important, not so much for the pitch, but also the leadership within the changing room. Having that loud presence before the game is really important, especially for us young players. So, when we're at full strength, we're a good team.
I was going to say, you talked actually after you scored the winner last week. You said that when we play a team like Manchester City, it's not just a tactical battle, it's not just physical, it's psychological.
Yeah.
So when you see that Haaland's not on that team sheet, what did that do for you guys in the dressing room?
It's difficult, It's always, you always want to play teams at the best, and obviously I hope he's not too bad. I saw the video, and I hope
he's your mate, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's a good mate of mine, so I hope it's not too bad. But you play against what you're up against, and I think we managed it well today. When their best players don't play or their key players don't play, they still have other players who can step in and cause damage. So I think we nullified that well.
Jude, I think all of your players to a man were fantastic today, the way you performed with the ball and out of possession as well. But just give us a little bit of inclination of what it's like to play behind a player like Kylian Mbappe in the form that he's now in.
I think it's brilliant. I think you go into games knowing he's going to affect games. You can give him the ball, and I think our job behind, is to try and put the front three, and obviously myself getting in there, is in the best positions possible. And when Kylian gets the ball in areas that he likes to get the ball, he's going to be dangerous. Right foot, left foot. You saw the different kinds of goals today. It's incredible, really, what he's done in his career. And I know he had a slow start, and he was kind of getting used to life here, but now he's just flying, and it's a pleasure to watch.
And we've seen you earlier in the competition, and sometimes at moments stuttering. I mean, here's a couple of the goals he scored, but sometimes stuttering in the league format earlier in the competition. But why is it that you guys seem to just be able to click into gear at the business end of the season?
I think
like you have done now?
I think those results are a big part of how we play tonight, because they're humbling. Sometimes you need, talent won't be enough when we go to, away to teams, and it's not going to be enough just to show up and take 3 points. That's the fact. You've played in talented teams, you know how it is. You need that organisation, you need that commitment to the cause, and I think in the last 2 games we really showed that. And obviously we worked on it as well after the bad results.
Yes, Jude, like yourself, Vinny, Mbappe, but tell us the importance of Valverde. Obviously he's the captain and a leader. How important is he in dressing?
So important. I think obviously he goes under the radar massively. I think tonight he plays at right back, and he looks like he's never played anywhere else. He's just unbelievable, and he's a great teammate. Obviously coming into that captain's role as well in such a big game, and he just embraces everything really well. He's a pleasure to play with, honestly, I have to say.
Potentially a Madrid derby in the next round.
Oh, really?
Potentially Atletico. Oh, you've not seen it? Potentially.
Should I focus on this?
Oh, yeah. That's true, actually. So much for Pep Guardiola to think about after this game. And, I mean, How damaging is it? What are you two laughing at?
This guy.
There's stuff going on around, people having to run. We remember when we were young, when we were older players, at the end of the game having to run, and Kevin De Bruyne is doing it there now. It's disheartening, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Especially after defeat.
Yeah,
that's the one.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the last place he wants to be right now, back on this pitch. But, I mean, how damaging is it? How damaging is it for Manchester City to head out of the Champions League at this stage?
Yeah, it's devastating because they're expected to win and they want to go far in the competition, or one of the favourites should win, should I say. But you've got to put things in perspective. Like, this is still Real Madrid, and like I said before the game, if they would have come here having won the previous 10 games, they wouldn't have been favourites. So in the condition and the form and the inconsistencies that they have this season, we shouldn't be overall surprised. But the performance is probably the most devastating because it was a thoroughly deserved win, controlled win, and it reminds me of the game that Man City, or the display that Man City showed at the Etihad a few years ago, or was it last season, in regards to the 4-0, 4-1 against Madrid.
It was the manner in which they got beat today. I think it's the first time I've seen a Man City team led by Pep Guardiola almost like tapping out, almost looking for the final whistle. And that's testament to what he's produced here over his tenure. They've been magnificent since he's come through the door here, and they've produced. But this season there have been many moments where you've looked at it and gone, that isn't the identity of a Pep Guardiola Man City team. And tonight was another example of that. But I think you can't take anything away from Real Madrid. Like, I agree with Jolyon. They're a formidable team right now, clicking into gear just at the right time, in a moment when this Man City team are lacking any type of confidence.
Well, if you think about what happened last week when they were 2-1 up in the 86th minute, they let it slip from their hands in those final moments of that game. How, do you think they'll be thinking how different this could have been had we come in with that victory, or at least a draw? Psychologically, it might not have been as difficult and as much of an uphill struggle.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to come here with any kind of goal deficit, and they did. So they would have looked at that game. But again, like I've said, that has happened prior to this season, prior to this run of form. Me and Rio was here a few years ago. It was 2-1 walking down from the gantry, and all of a sudden it's going to extra time. So in regards to this team, this club, as in Real Madrid, and this competition, you can't have ruled them off in any type of result or performance.
It's crazy with the Man City team, though. I'm looking at it and going, what are they going to do now for the rest of the season? How do they kind of turn this around in terms of their form in the league? And I don't see any triggers at the moment. You're seeing Kevin De Bruyne must be injured. Haaland's obviously injured. And you're looking at all the players in the team look like they're lacking any type of confidence, like I said. And as a collective, they look like a team a little bit in no man's land at the moment.
Well, they've conceded that the league is not going to happen this season. Top 4 is what they're aiming for. But at the moment, the only thing they're playing for is the FA Cup. The magnitude of Manchester City can't be good enough, can it?
Well, obviously not when you're favourites to win every competition you enter. But again, you've got to put things in perspective. That the heights, then the standard that they've set, we haven't seen. So in regards to what they're doing now, yeah, it's not great for the club, and probably not predicted by anyone outside of the club especially. But in regards to what they've done, it was never going to sustain for forever. There was always going to be a drop-off, but unfortunately there's too many elements that have probably dropped off at the same time.
It's the speed of the drop-off as well. It's been like, bang, out of nowhere. Like, they've just gone from being like a totally dominant team, won the league again last year, to a team that's just almost like fell off a cliff at points.
What would you say that would be a normal size drop off then? Like, if you've won 4 in a row and done things that no one's done, what do you expect to happen if you're not matching that standard that everyone's been set or they've set?
I'm not talking about league position. I'm talking about the standard of football that they're playing, and the way that teams are being able to go toe to toe and actually come in with a little bit of confidence, whereas they had an aura about them for the last 4, 5, 6 seasons where teams were beat in the tunnel before they come out. Now teams are rolling their sleeves up and saying, listen, we got a chance. We know if we get a goal, this team will fold at the moment, and that's never been the case at Man City under Pep Guardiola. But what I would say, like Jolyon said there, it's unprecedented what they've done. And there was always going to be a time when they did have a drop-off. And it's come at a time now, and they have to show the resilience and the ability to react to that.
What do you think needs addressing most in the summer? We know that Pep Guardiola signed a new contract. We know that Haaland is tied into a huge contract now. He's got many more years at City. But there are other areas that they're going to have to address to refresh this squad. What are the priorities, Rio?
Well, we can look at what they want, but I'd look back at what they've actually taken out of this team, and I think they've taken a lot of goals and a lot of pace and power out of this team, and that was a stark contrast between the teams today as well. Not just quality, but actually pace and power, the ability to run off players in transition. And I think losing over the years. Sterling's gone, Sane's gone, Mahrez has gone, Rodri's out of the team now. It's a massive difference. Alvarez has gone. These are players that in transition, in terms of mobility for this team, would put teams absolutely on the back.
Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker's another one to add to that. There's those players put teams on the back foot. And before anything, Kylian Mbappe, Rodrigo, Vinicius Junior put teams on the back foot. Forget quality, but they put teams on the back foot and they run behind. That's kind of come out of this team now, and they're having to find other ways to score goals and to hurt teams. And at the moment, along with other things that are contributing to that, it's not happening.
Yeah, obviously they're going through a transition period and they need to recruit a new type of player. But the fact that these group of players have most majority of them played in the Euros and have consistently played for 12, 13 months, all of a sudden, rest might be the factor. We've seen the impact that not having a rest had on Rodri, so hopefully come to the end of the season, he's back and everyone's feeling a bit more confident. You go into the new season, regardless of the previous season, you go into a new season feeling a bit more confident.
There's a lot of mileage on these players as well, and there's a lot of stress being put on them. When you're winning constantly like this, the demands is stressful on your body physically, but also mentally to keep getting yourself to this level year in, year out. So, as I said, I'm not surprised that there's been a drop-off with this team because of the kind of the terrain that they've been on. Isn't an easy one. Even though you're winning, it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's been really difficult, hasn't it, for...
Well, Manchester City already rocked by the news that their number 9, Haaland, would start on the bench, but Real Madrid's number 9 has started on fire, guys. 4 minutes in, it was a great pass, great goal, but Kylian Mbappe scored, and you're pointing out John Stones. His positioning probably could have been better for this one.
Yeah, I think there should have been a little bit better communication between the two. As soon as a striker couldn't see me, that was when I would adjust my position, and especially against someone with the pace of Kylian Mbappe. I think if he takes up that, as soon as that ball goes over the top, Kylian Mbappe turns around and sees John Stones, maybe doesn't run, but again, you got to take nothing away from the finish. And we agree here, there's obviously a lack of communication because I think they can be slightly closer together.
And when there's that time on the ball as well, I think that's one of the things you identify as a player when you're playing. If that player who's passing the ball there, Asensio, has time on the ball, as an opposing defender, you have to drop, adjust your position, especially when you've got a world-class striker with pace is one of his superpowers.
Pace, and you just don't want to get into a race with someone like Kylian Mbappe's level, regardless of how well he's playing or what standard it is. If someone is that fast, the last thing you want to do is create space for him.
Well, do you know what this one is all about him?
Yeah, this is magnificent. This highlights, I think, the lack of pace and power and in transitions, especially from City. And when you have runners that are willing to run in white shirts like this, it becomes almost impossible. But this is all about Kylian Mbappe. Small spaces there. I said it in commentary. He laid him on the floor, laid him out. He might as well have got him a pillow there. It was phenomenal from Mbappe. And that's what he's about, isn't it, Jadian?
Yeah, he's been exceptional. And again, here we're highlighting the City back four. Again, slight lack of communication. But for me, Gonzalez, as soon as he sees Rodrigo in his eye line, track him, get him all the way. He may not be able to stop him, but at least he may be closer to force a mistake. But like Rio said, as soon as Kylian Mbappe got into that position, the level of composure and calmness he shows, I think this is the first time I've looked at him and thought, you actually remind me of Thierry Henry. The way he's playing with so much elegance and smoothness, yeah, it's enjoyable to watch.
It is incredible to watch, isn't it?